So now we're going to deal with our roof and our roof framing. I've already added a level called roof, and then I've done roof framing separately just because there's a lot of maneuvering of that, and I've made it a really obnoxious color so it's easy to see. Once I'm done with it, I'll probably just make it the same color, maybe even reassign it, but for now I want it to be its own thing. So I need to identify my midline. Luckily for me, mine is shorter than the rest. If yours is not, this is where it is on the drawing. This, whatever grid is closest to the middle of this is your midline. So I'm going to switch to my top view for now. I'm going to do a polyline, and I'm going to start, I'm using the dashed line. So I'm going to make sure near is on. Then I'm just going to come kind of to the middle here. Until I get to this corner. And now I'm going to come, again, I'm trying to keep this kind of through the middle. And now again down to the midline. So once you've got that, make sure to hit enter. If you click anything else, the polyline work you did will disappear. So I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to click anywhere other than my middle so that I know what I'm doing. I'm going to type mirror, and more importantly that Rhino knows what I'm doing. Now I'm going to select the object to mirror, which is this polyline. I'm going to hit enter. And now I'm going to use this midline and just draw right along it. And you can see it's mirroring across. All right, now I need to join those two. So I'm going to click here, come down and click here, and I have a joined object. So for the next bit, I need my front view. If you want to work bigger, you can just type in to view. Oh, no, unknown command, never mind. That's all right. I'm just going to leave it with 4. I don't remember the command off the top of my head right now. But I'm going to come in, I'm going to click my control points here, and then I'm going to use this to raise up each section to the correct height. And it'll make sense in just a second. I'm going to turn off grids because they're kind of in the way. And now when I first click on, now that I've got my shape, I can take my plan view and I can make it a little more transparent again. So I had made that 100% again just for the tracing. But if your eyes are good enough that you don't need to do that, then good. Lock my grids, lock my plan again. And so now I'm going to come in here, I'm going to click once, and now I'm going to zoom in. I'm just going to click on the point. And now I'm going to have another one at the midline most likely. Where'd my midline go? Here we go. And so make sure you're holding shift when you click this, because otherwise it'll just change which point you're holding. And then I'm going to get this third one, again making sure I hold shift. All right, now I've got that whole front section, and I can type move. I can click on that point, and I can come up where I think it belongs on the picture. I'm going to do the same thing for the middle. First, I'm going to click somewhere else because it's going to think I'm just adding to that selection. So I'm going to click away. I'm going to click here. I'm going to click this point. This time there's only 2. I'm going to hold shift, click this point, and now I'm going to type move. And I'm going to click here and come up here. Right. Last round, we're going to do these 3 points. So I'm going to click somewhere else, click back on the line. 1, hold shift, 2, hold shift, 3. I'm going to type move. And bring it up here. You can see it cuts down a little. I'm going to go with the main part. I'm going to stick with up here. So now let's take a look at that in this view. Pretty good. Alright, I'm going to hide my plan again for a minute. And the next one, everything looks so weird when they flip the grid on us like that. So if we look at our instructions, and let's ignore that, you can see we're using a different command. We're using surface point. And so what we're going to have to do is we're going to trace this side first. We'll make a surface, then we'll trace this side, and then we'll join them together. So surface point, and it wants 4 points. So I'm going to click here, 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 and here. I'm going to hit enter, so it's surface point again. Here, here, and here. Now I'm going to say join. And I'm going to click this surface and this surface. Alright. Now it gets a little funky, but not too bad. I'm going to say, I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to say copy. And you can see this option here that says in place. So we want to make a copy that's directly on top of this one, so I'm just going to click it. Now I've got a copy. I'm going to say scale. Base point, I want to pick this midline right here. And now I'm going to type in a factor of 0.99. So now I have something slightly smaller than our main one. Don't uncheck anywhere. We're going to come back in here. Maybe do uncheck because we got this weird gumball. So you either have to rotate this gumball to be straight up and down, or if you uncheck it and you get that poly surface from a top view, now the gumball will automatically correct itself. And so we're going to extrude this roughly down to here. Because underneath this is our beams. Alright, we have a roof. And if you look from underneath, we have a very thin top with a little more thickness underneath. Now we want to switch over to roof framing. And again, I made it a really obnoxious color on purpose so that I could see what I'm doing. And I'm going to start with just a single line. I'm going to trace from this end down to this corner. And now I'm going to use an offset with flat cap. And I'm going to try a foot and see how that looks. maybe I should have extruded that roof a little further. So let me Control Z a couple times. I'll click this poly surface. Yeah, okay. Now I'm going to do a single polyline. Single poly, that doesn't make sense at all. A single line. And I'm going to use offset. And I want to make sure I have flat caps. Let's see what 1.5 would look like. That looks pretty close on the drawing. I'll take it. Alright. Now if we come into this view, you can see it's all drawn at an angle. And we want to use our set point to fix that. But first I'm going to turn my vertical grids on, and I'm going to turn my elevations back on. So I want it to line up like this. And ideally, I would start from one that actually has the beam there. So I'm going to say set point. I'm going to select the object. I'm going to hit enter. And what we're setting is the Y. Click OK. And like I said, I want it to be on one where I actually have, there we go. Because what we're going to do is we're going to create a surface here. We're going to extrude it to either side, and then we'll start making our copies. Don't worry about lining up perfectly with the picture, as long as you're consistent with your grids. So now I'm going to say planar surface. I'm going to click this and hit enter. And now I'm going to click on the surface. And from here, you can see on here, if I hold shift, it will do both sides at once. And so I'm going to hold shift, and I'm just going to try and get what I think is the dimension of one of these beams. That might be a little thick. Alright, I've got one. Now you can see it's still just the surface that's highlighted, not the actual extrusion we just made. So I'm going to click anywhere else, and at this point I am going to turn off almost everything. Well, I'll wait for just a minute until we get our first copy. Then we're going to get this. I'm going to say copy. And now I'm going to come from here. And you want it to say mid intercept. And you can see in the above view that we're still on the same underside of our roof. All right. Brilliant. Now I am going to just have mid on from now on because I don't want these going anywhere other, like even if I leave perpendicular on in a 3D world, there's multiple places to be perpendicular. So I'm going to switch to reference lines for a second. I'm going to do another single line. And I'm going to do it from this midpoint. And this might be easier to do in 3D. I'm going to come back, single line. I'm going to grab this midpoint and come to this midpoint. And now I'm going to highlight the line. I'm going to say divide. And I want 3 segments because we have 2 in between here. And so actually I need to turn point on just for this bit. I'm going to click one of them, doesn't matter which one. I'm going to say copy. And because I drew the line from the midpoint, these points will be exactly in the right place. Alright, now I'm going to turn off point because we don't want these copies we're going to start making to end up all over this model. I'm going to start by adding a couple more. I'm going to click these 2. And I'm going to say copy. I'm going to do 3 at a time. I'm going to start over here. Whoa, come on, mouse. I think I have to change my scroll settings. Actually, let me try this from this view. Might be easier. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to say, all right, copy. I'm going to copy from here to here. And that didn't work in that view. Okay. Hang on just a second. Control Z. So again, I'm going to pick 3 of them. I'm going to say copy. And it's all over the map. All right, let me troubleshoot real quick. I will start this again. So I need to turn off a bunch of stuff. I really only want my roof and my roof rafters right now. Roof framing, I should say. I can even turn this off. And now there's less things for it to accidentally snap to. So I'm going to say, now that I got those 3, I'm going to say copy. I'm going to start at this midpoint, and I'm going to come to this midpoint. And you can see if you look in the perspective view, it's lining up. And also if you look at the front view, all of these look good. So I'm just going to keep going, making sure I'm on mid, and before I click, I'm checking all my views to make sure that the copies are in alignment with everything I've already done. And I'm going to keep going until I'm past the actual roof, because we have some weird stuff happening there. So you can see the roof tapers in, so we need to keep going even when you think you're done. So that's good for that side. I'm going to do the same process over here, but I'm going to click these 3. Again, copy. Come from the midpoint to the midpoint to the midpoint to the midpoint. All right, now I have enough. If you look at the written instructions, it talks about doing scale 1D on this to make it match. Before I do that, since I already have a whole bunch of them, I'm just going to highlight them all at this point and rotate them to this side. So I'm just going to do a right drag, get all of them. And now here's the thing with rotate. You don't want to use the gumball. You could, but you're introducing more room for error. So I'm going to type rotate, and I'm going to say my center rotation is right here at the end. Oh, I need to pick end, and I need to have near on. So I'm going to go from the end. I'm going to stay on this line saying near, and I'm going to rotate until I snap to this. And it's not in the correct position, but it's at the correct angle. So I'm going to click here. And I forgot one important thing, which is when you rotate, this is copy. So I'm going to say copy yes. I'm going to place my thing at the end again. I'm going to come along this line, and I'm going to rotate until I snap to this line. Now my original stays, and I have a copy. Now I'm just going to do a right drag to get all of these. I'm going to type move. And I'm going to move them here. So now we have them. They're the correct angle. They are not the correct length. So we're going to use something called scale 1D, and you can do that as a group. So I'm going to say scale 1D. I'm going to start at this end. I'm going to come to this end, and then I'm going to drag it all the way down here. And so let's go back to our multiple views. Now you can see I have them all. They're lined up with these, and they're the correct length. So now it's time to copy a bunch of these. Same process. Now that I have this, I'm going to switch to my left view for now because this is my right. I'm going to switch set view, left. And now same thing. I'm going to do 3 of these. And I'm going to turn off everything other than mid. I'm going to say copy. From this midpoint to this midpoint. Again, check all your other views so that it looks like they're staying in the correct position before you drop them in. Alright, and that's enough for that side. Rinse and repeat. 1, 2, 3. Copy. I'm going to start from this midpoint. Here. Couple more, and well, 3 more it looks like. My guesstimation is off. Alright, so I'm gonna try and keep this video short and just show one from each side because the process is a little different with scale 1D. So I'll start with the short side. And I'll do it from perspective. And like I said, you can do more than one at a time. So it looks like these I don't actually need, so I'm going to delete these outer two. And I'm going to show it for this one, but the process is the same. So I'm going to click, I'm going to click this one, and I'm going to hold Control, or Shift, sorry, click this one, and I say Scale 1D. And so on this side, I'm coming from this top corner, and I need to actually, hang on, let me turn on End, because I was on Mid, and I need Intersection turned on. I don't really care about Mid anymore, I want End and Intersection. So I'm going to type Scale 1D again. Make sure you're grabbing the correct beam. And now I want this. And now I'm going to scale back until I see it say apparent intersection. I must have had an extra one in there, because it looks like alright, let me Control Z this. Do I have a duplicate? Alright. Scale 1D. I'm going to click. I need to fix this mouse. I'm going to get the end. Get this end. And now I'm coming back to parent intersection. There we go. So it can be a little finicky, especially with all this much going on, making sure you're getting to the correct one. So I'll show it one more time on this one for this side. I'm going to highlight both. I'm going to say scale. And on this side, I want to start near the ridge, making sure I'm snapping to this end, to this, and then scaling back to where I go to apparent intersection because I want it to be under the shorter roof, the one that's 99% the size. So now you can see it's right on the edge. So similar on the other side, but we're going the other way, right? We start at the bottom, come to the top, and scale it back. Do we need a tiny piece at this corner? Probably not. How long would that be? Let me do a quick line just to see. No, that's 4.5 feet. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So I'm just going to take this outside one, hold Shift, get this outside one. Now I'm going to say Scale 1D. And now this time, I'm going with the outside corner. That way, or no, the inside won't stick out. Or no, let me. And so I want to make sure I'm on the correct one. And if this ghost setting isn't working for you, try a different graphic setting that makes it easier for you to find it. Now I'm going to click up here, and I'm just going to come back until it says intersection. And so now we got this little nubbin. And I think it still sticks out a little far, so I'm going to do it again. I'm going to pick that end, and yeah, I probably should have done the other side. because you can see. So let me just do a little, and then I'll hit enter, and this time I'm going to do it from the right side, and that will help make sure. I'm going to snap not to the thin outer roof, but to this one. And so you can see that worked on both sides. I'll do one more here, hold shift here, just hit enter because it's remembering our last command. And so I'm going to do the side closest to me, top corner, scale back, and I'm going to come to this apparent intersection. And there's a little bit of an illusion because of this direction we're in. If I was in a pure top view, it would look better. So let's go to our top view. And you can see it actually, that corner does end here rather than sticking out a bit. And it looks like I got the opposite here. So you're going to do that for all these, all this side, and that's it until we start on other bits next week.